Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Andre from the Opinionated podcast, and I just want to remind you that we are live every Sunday on our Facebook page, and you can find us wherever you stream your music at the Opinionated podcast. So we drop a new episode every Tuesday. So remember to like, share, comment, and don't forget to subscribe. Enjoy the show.
You got it.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Opinionated podcast, and we are your host.
I'm Cool Kev.
Kevin Durant.
And I'm Andre, and we have a special guest today.
Hello.
And what's your name? What do you do?
I am Joyce, and I am a science fiction writer.
Ooh.
Yeah.
We
Told
were
you we
just
had a
talking-
special guest.
We were just talking about science fiction.
Yeah.
Yes, we were.
Yeah, we were. We kind of nerded out a little bit before we got on the podcast. I'm sorry about that. Which I love to do with my friends. So yeah, how did you get started writing?
I started writing poetry when I was in middle school. I got bullied really bad. I was the nerdy kid with the big glasses, and they pretty much came with a sign that said "beat me up." So I didn't have a lot of friends or anybody to really talk to and express stuff. So that's what my art became, was just a way of expression. And eventually, when I got more into stories in my 20s, I saw a Facebook post that was political, and it just got me thinking about things, where the world was headed, and it just blew up from there.
Oh wow. Okay. So I'll share something as well. I was somewhat bullied too, and had the glasses too. Don't look at me like that. I had the glasses and got bullied too a little bit. So I pretty much understand. I guess I started playing sports after that though. So
Yeah.
it might have changed a little bit, but yeah, I understand where you're coming from with that. I grew up in Philly. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Princeton, Indiana, which is like the armpit of the state.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow.
Why is that?
Wait, what?
Can you explain? I need you to indulge a
Wow.
little bit.
It's a very small, very dumpy, narrow-minded town, and it's stuck in the 60s. They're very racially segregated. They,
wow.
Okay.
yeah, like one shade lives on one side, the other shade lives on the other, and they don't think they should ever interact. It's very
Okay.
bizarre.
I like how she said one shade.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's
that was smart.
yeah. Well, oh my gosh. You know what? Does something like that influence your writing in any way?
Yeah, I would say it did, especially with Arid. I mean, because and when I used to live in Phoenix, Arizona, and it was the exact opposite. Arizona, it's a melting pot. There's so many different race, ethnicities, cultures. There's just people from all walks of life. You just don't see people being so narrow-minded and bigoted. So of course, my characters, there's a huge cast of different people interacting with each other, and getting along and working together and things, and it's how life should be.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. Now, with all things, everything has their difficulties. And in writing your book, what difficulties or obstacles did you run into, as far as maybe writer's block, people probably poaching your work, or giving your work to people and they're misleading you, and you're giving them money and you see nothing from it? Can you do you have any type of stories?
I've not have any stories where I've kind of got gypped out of money or anything. But writing itself is a struggle. I think it was George Orwell that said writing a book is like having a disease, and no one would ever take such task if they weren't driven by a demon they could neither resist or understand. But
Wow.
with Arid, oh God, writing it, I would say some of the hardest part was the fighting scenes, because I had so many different characters. I had different weapons, and it's so hard to coordinate. I'm like, okay, I've got this person here beating this person with the club, and what's she going to do to him? She just kick him in the balls. I don't know. And yeah, it's almost like you're a puppet master and you've got all these little puppets. It's crazy. I don't know. Maybe it's not as challenging for some people, but it is for me.
That's the book you're talking. This is the book she's referencing to everybody right here. Eric, there you go, right there. Yeah. So yeah, now we had a writer on. We spoke to a writer the other day that said how he goes through his like writing fighting scenes or love scenes or what other scenes he said
Love scenes, I believe.
yeah, he would put himself in that mind frame. Like he would listen to heavy metal music to write his fight scenes.
Right.
And if he wanted to write a love scene or a compassion scene, he would be around his family. Have you ever tried anything like that to help you write? Like just get yourself in the mood to write what's required for this scene right here?
I've not done that with the heavy metal though. I may actually do that next time I have
Oh.
to write a fight scene or something really aggressive. When it was a sad scene when one of my favorite characters died, I listened to "Hey Jude" by the Beatles because that song always makes me sad. It reminds me of something that brings me down. So I was in a good mood when I started writing that scene, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I got to dumb this down."
Oh man. Yeah. You know what? And let's go back a little bit to talk about your Arid, which is your first book, correct?
Right.
Okay. So when did you start writing that? And like, what kind of mind frame were you in? Unless I missed something.
No, no,
All right.
no.
I didn't know. You know what I mean? I didn't know she went over it. I'm sorry.
Oh, I started writing Arid in 2015, and I don't remember exactly how I came up with that idea. Um, well, technically, I have a novella. I give that away as when you sign up for my newsletter, I give that away. But yeah, my first professional book was Arid. But that mindset, I've been watching a lot of videos about how lakes and rivers were just being mysteriously drained, and no one really knew why. There's a lot of politicians that have bought up a lot of aqueducts. Water's being transported illegally with the government's blessing. There's a lot of things that are happening with water that shouldn't be, and a lot of profitization is going on. So that's what got me in the mindset to write Arid.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Man. Oh my God.
That's some crazy shit.
Wait, so you're saying that just out of nowhere, you go to a lake or a river and it's the water's just gone, like
Or
with
it's-
no discernible evidence on how that happened? Like, where's
Yeah.
where has that happened at?
Michigan for a lot from what I've heard from people that
Oh.
live there. It has happened a lot in Michigan. I think more the northern states that have, more bodies of water and larger bodies of water. And Nestle's also, they have done some things. I had a blog about it on Guinea Springs. They were basically using that water, which it's it was publicly funded money that cultivated and restored Guinea Springs. They were taking the water and bottling it and selling it.
Dang.
Oh wow.
That's crazy.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
a-
Okay. Yeah. I
I mean,
didn't know that at all.
well, hey, you know what they say? You control the resources, you control the people.
Yeah, I agree.
Just
True.
I
Indeed.
agree.
don't ban me on Facebook or YouTube. Just saying in general, because they will.
Yeah.
They
Yeah. I
will.
know.
This is just my thought. Is not saying people are doing this.
So without giving away Eric, can you go over what kind of I want to broach this subject carefully because I don't want
A
you to give away
summary.
your book, but a summary. There we go. A summary.
Jesus, Didn't they teach
I'm
you-
sorry.
Didn't they teach you these words in school?
My bad. I was thinking about the daggone water disappearing. I'm serious.
That's
Like,
crazy.
That's crazy.
I'm,
Am I wrong?
I'm listening
No.
to her say that. Like, wait a
Yeah.
minute. Wait a minute. What?
Water. Like you know what I mean? You get that every day. Well, not every day, but
Nah, well,
Just
okay, before we
evaporated,
get to the
huh?
summary of the book,
All right.
I live in a small town right here. Yeah, and in a small town, everybody use well water. We have a natural spring that runs underneath the town.
Hmm.
After that, recently they forced everybody to get tap into the water line in front of your house that the township provides. You
Yeah, I
had to
remember that.
abandon your
well.
well water
Yeah.
and tap into this line, or you will pay a double tax. You'll
What?
pay a tax on your well, and you'll pay a tax on the water line out front of your house also. So people not wanting to pay that double tax said, you know what? I'm just going to pay the one. I'm going to close my well, and I'm going to tap into the
To the sewer line.
Yeah.
Or not sewer. You know what I mean? Borderline.
the waterline. Yeah,
Right.
so I can understand that.
Goodness gracious. Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah, way to bring
Yeah.
everybody down.
And there's
What?
been instances where people have got fined for even collecting rainwater.
oh yeah, I heard
That's
that too.
insane.
So
No.
rainwater not free. Like I can't just put something out back like a
Because you
filtering
can,
system.
because you
I
can
guess
put,
you don't need to.
you have to build a filtration system. You build it out of, you build heavy stone on top, pea gravel, a sand layer, and then a charcoal layer, and and I think another fine sand layer at the end. What that does is the rocks is the big rocks to stop the leaves, the sticks, and everything. The pea gravel start to sort out the smaller, material like small sticks. The sand will start to get some of the maybe a couple like a worm or something like that or whatever gets through. And then charcoal will get the contaminants out as to a point, and then another fine sand. Yeah, it's a
Wow.
if you ever wanted to build, but people ban that you can't build one of those things in your yard.
They can't tax you.
They can't tax you.
Can't charge you.
Yep.
All right. So okay. That's
I know.
We're gonna have to have
We
you-
are going
we're
on
gonna
a
have to have you
sci-fi
come-
trip ourselves.
Yeah, we're gonna have to have you back on for the conspiracy
Yeah,
theories
for
for sure.
sure.
Yeah,
I would love to do a conspiracy theory. Yeah.
so can you give us a summary on your book, Arid?
Yes, it is set in the somewhat distant future, like the 2040s, and basically wealthy moguls have bought all the rights to water and privatized it and made it only to where the wealthy can afford it, and people who can no longer pay their water taxes, which are more and more exorbitant, are labeled as indigents, and they are cast out in the desert and forced to live in squalor. And that's where Arid starts with my main character Josh and his group and how they fight to get out of their situation.
Wow.
Wow, that's a.
So yeah, we were kind of on point with what we were talking about then.
I mean, if you,
I believe.
I mean, that is a great. It sounds like a great
It's
story.
it's scary because it's something that sounds like it can happen.
That can happen right now. Yeah,
That's what it sounds like.
survival of the fittest.
So, if that being said, I'm guessing your science fiction allows you use what's actually you see going on and somehow tied into your books. That's what you do. Which is a scary thought because most good movies are made that way too.
Yeah.
Yes, and books. It's like I see the reality, but let me just put a little twist and a little bit more on it.
You know what I felt like they would always do, and maybe it's just me being weird. I felt like they would do that with air.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And here's what I mean. I felt like what the government would do is have a place with, offer a place with clean air. And if you're outside of that place, they would say that it was contaminated and stuff like that. So they would literally sell air to people in a certain, you know what I mean? Like really you're selling the place, but you're selling air to people and convincing them that other air is contaminated.
Well, okay, I know we're getting off.
I don't want to step
You
on- I don't
have
wanna step on your
brought
point,
us into
but
science fiction.
She's like, "Oh, next book."
that would be dope. You ever think about something like that? Like something weird like that?
Oh yeah. It kind of reminds me of an old song by the Beatles called "The Tax Man." You take a walk, I'll tax your feet, I'll tax everything.
Oh.
Right. Okay. Oh my gosh.
What?
I don't know that
Well,
song.
but look
I
at
mean,
look
I
at
want to know it.
a lot of people when COVID happened. They did a pollution map or showing the pollution how.
Watch yourself first.
I'm not talking
Okay.
about the actual disease, but when
Okay.
when we did the lockdown, when we all did the lockdown, because people were in their house so much that you wasn't driving cars and everything, mostly things were shut down, that the air quality became better. Hell, think about some of the wildlife that you didn't see started to come back and migrate into places because we wasn't out and about in these areas no more because parks was blocked off. We couldn't do none of that. So think about it.
Wow.
Yeah, so you have put us in the twilight zone.
Yeah. No, I think just interesting. Like if you got an interesting topic, like for her book, it's going to make you think about other things that possibly could happen. That's just where it put me at.
Yeah, I love science fiction. That's why.
Yeah, we love science
Yeah,
fiction.
it's like you can, and when you fall down that rabbit hole, it's hard to dig. It's hard to get your way back out. Drop it in that rabbit hole, man.
So So, your what made you want to write your second book? I
Right.
mean,
Parched.
yes,
Parched. Well, Parched is a prequel to Arid.
yeah.
Actually, a friend of mine told me,
Nice.
he's like, you could just write a prequel. He's like, oh, you could just do a short story, make it 10,000 words. It's way more than 10,000 words, but
Right.
because I did have some people say they wanted to know more about Josh, about some of the main characters, what their life was like before, because it starts out in such a serious setting, such a combative setting. So I decided to write what led up to them being exiled.
Mm.
That's a dope idea.
Yeah. So, what is your foreseeable future? Do you plan to write continue this story maybe say a 3 or 4 part story, or did you just that's it? I'm on to the
Next
next one.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might continue Arid if I can, make a sequel just as good as the first one. I may try it. I mean, some of the science fiction sequels, especially the movies, like the first one's really good, and the second is like, I want my money back.
Yeah.
Sharknado.
Oh,
It might not be science fiction, but yeah, it was
No.
terrible either way.
It's like 4 of them Jones too. They just wouldn't stop.
I think the only one that Predator.
Oh, okay.
Predator was
one,
good.
Predator
Yeah.
1 was the original one was with I want to say the original
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
No, the original one wasn't with Arnold Schwarzenegger. The original one was with what's his name from Lethal Weapon.
Danny Glover.
I think Danny Glover had the original. No, Danny Glover might have been the sequel to Predator because he wasn't Predator.
No, you're thinking of The Color Purple.
No.
So what's your favorite? What's your?
Now you're gonna make me look it up, man. You not pay these guys no attention. This is what we.
I'm sorry.
Danny Glover was in the Predator, but I think it was the second one, and Arnold Schwarzenegger was in the first one.
Okay,
One or the other, but he was in the Predator. I remember that.
Yeah.
Well,
he was.
yeah, but I'm just saying, Predator 2 was Danny Glover. I'm
Yeah.
just saying that was a good one too, but it is hard to write. What kind of mindset do you have to be in to write science fiction? To not make it so outlandish, but make it good.
That's a good question. Yeah.
Because some science fiction is I can't picture that, but some is wow, I'm there.
Yeah.
How did you draw that fine line of being too outrageous, but but keeping that somewhat reality so people can understand it?
Right.
Or it's not too far fetched.
Well, I draw a lot of inspiration from the world around us. I just kind of think about how far could a corrupt government go. I mean, there's some limits, but I guess not too many anymore. You think of what happened with the Holocaust and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But
Absolutely.
yeah, I guess I try to keep it somewhat like they would be somewhat in a somewhat civilized society, and mostly try to keep their crimes hidden and discreet, because that's, I think, a lot of times what corrupt governments do.
Right.
Yeah, which is true.
And honestly, that leads me to my next question, because I want to broach this subject carefully. I don't want us to get no. You know what? I'll ask it in a nice way. How many books do you think, or books, or even any type of content is going to come from the actual pandemic? You know what I mean? Because a lot of people would think that this would be one of those types of science fiction. You know what I mean? Like if we weren't in it, we wouldn't believe it that we're going through it right now. How many books do you think are going to come from? How many people do you think are going to capitalize off of the time that we're on right now and writing about their experience?
Oh, I would say maybe even hundreds of thousands. I don't know, at least tens of thousands. I know I've seen on some author websites that are, doing promotions or blog reviews. Some of them even said no more books about COVID.
Wow.
Yeah, had their fill in 2 years.
Oh my gosh. My next question was going to be, have you thought about writing it? You know what I mean?
But no.
Probably not. I think you can probably pull from your own other types of, you know what I mean? Like that was going to be my next question. If you had any intention on writing anything maybe close to what's going on now?
I have thought I do have a draft. It wasn't about COVID, it was a virus similar. It wasn't so much about its effect on the world, but how this woman, she was getting out of a bad relationship, and he actually was a scientist, and they were working on coming up with vaccines for a deadly virus, and how he was using that to harm people.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah. See,
Yeah.
you gotta maybe let the smoke clear from this, but see, that's something that I feel like is interesting on its own. You know what I mean? If we weren't in this time, but like I said, if we weren't in this, I wouldn't believe it either. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I mean, this nothing's happened like this in over 100 years. It's like you always knew it could happen. You see movies like Contagion, but I mean,
Right.
you don't anticipate it actually happening, not on this scale.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what scares me about when you read science fiction books. Some of the stuff you ever watch movies and from science fiction and like it starts to somewhat come true, like you said, Contagion. Like that's like the scary part of science fiction right
Yeah.
there for me is like, man, this can really actually happen. If somebody was demented enough to take from these pages, they'd do it.
Right. I think it's a lot of stuff that might have been derived from true events that we will never know were true. You know what I mean? They'll call science fiction, but came from a real place. Like a lot of these conspiracy
Mm-hmm.
theory things, I think actually happened.
There's a little bit of truth in every fiction.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah. Like to me, the water thing, that's still bothering me.
yeah,
as I
that's
think about
just
it.
crazy.
And I don't want to keep bringing it up, but like it, well, it's the topic of your books, but it really blows my mind that like
That can be
whole rivers
her book your book like
happen.
how you written your book that can be a future.
That's what exactly.
And that
It
would
is
be
scary.
that would be a scary future because if you think about it, how climate change is going on these days, you, you can wind up in certain parts of America where there's in the middle part, it can just be a complete desert, which because look at this right now. Nobody realized the Sahara Desert in over in Africa, that was once and where Egypt was, that was once fertile grassland. But
Really?
yeah, it was. Nobody the Sphinx, if some scientists disprove it, the weather marks in the Sphinx was from rainwater, constant rainwater.
Hmm.
But due to climate change, it turned this whole place into a desert. Well, how we had it, imagine if say 60 or 70% of America got turned into a desert and they did this water thing to us.
Wow.
You will be banned from your city to go survive. And when you go to survive, you're surviving for you and your family. You're not surviving like, oh, let me be kind to this person. You're taking what you need,
Wow.
which is scary.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
All right.
Slovenia, I think one of a few countries that has declared water public right and a natural resource. Most countries consider it as a good. It's there for profit.
Which is insane.
Yeah. Think
Yeah.
about the most abundant thing because you can't drink. Think how precious water is. We
Our body's majority
made up of
majority
water,
made
but
up
the
of water. So
planet is covered. 29% of the planet is covered with land. The other
Yo, you are cooking right now. Go ahead.
because I watch a lot. I'm very big into science, but you think the other percentage is all water. Most of that you can't drink. You can't drink salt water
Can't drink salt water.
at all. It actually
Without
dehydrates.
a desalinator.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they will make you think about something like that happening in your book with reality. Would you think the government would charge you to have this equipment to pump
A ridiculous
ocean
amount.
water to make it drinkable?
A ridiculous amount.
Or they will put pumps on the coast to say, hey, you don't pay your bill, we shut off, because people come up now and can shut your water off for your water bill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I remember you said, and correct me if I'm wrong, you said that you were giving away a novel with your book. So you wrote a novel before?
Yeah, it was a novella. Technically, it's about 40,000 words. So yeah, if you go to I have a website called aridbook.com, and you sign up for my newsletter, I give my novella away. I send it as a PDF.
Okay, well, then could you go into a little bit about your novella?
Yeah, it is actually along the conspiracy theory line.
Yes.
It's about microchips, and yeah,
Mhm.
that was it was actually set in, I wrote it, oh god, I wrote that over 10 years ago, but it was set in 2020, and every American citizen was required to have a microchip implanted in their arm, but it was controlling people's thoughts and making them do certain things that would serve a corrupt government's interest. And actually, I entered it in a contest in 2013, and it was a finalist in the Mars Social Author of the Year contest.
Wow.
Oh,
Let me ask you a question now. How close is that to the way social media is put in front of us, and kind of like, it's not a microchip,
but
but
it's controlling.
it's controlling people's thoughts. How do you feel about that?
That's a good question. I mean, oh yeah, it's absolutely, especially I think for the younger generation. There's
Mm,
so much misinformation out there,
right.
and I think especially about COVID too. I mean, it's that can lead to a whole lot of whole lot of hysteria, a whole lot of hostility. And I mean, well, social media has gotten so political too, and it's
Mm,
seems more people fighting than anything. It's like sometimes I just want to shut it off, but as a published author, I do not have a choice. I have to have an online presence, especially in the COVID germy times.
right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Which is and that's crazy because it's fact. It does control people. If I was to switch my phone with a complete stranger, and we was just to switch phones and go down each other timeline, and it'd be a whole different thing. Our political views would be different. The products we see would be different because Facebook and, well, not Facebook. Sorry, apologize to you guys. I'm sorry. Social media,
Banned
social
again.
social media has, like, they want your browser history. You go look for a cooking a crock pot, and you go on social media. You got 20 different crock pots
Yeah.
and 20 crock pot recipes. And if you have a certain political view, they will feed you fuel to make you seem right in your theory,
Mm.
and feed you also fuel to make you have that anger and resentment to the opposing view, which is crazy.
Yeah. I heard something interesting. They said in 10 years, I don't know if it was 10 years or 20 years, we're going to see the effects of smartphones and social media on our youth, and how they tend to grow. Like, they're going to see crazy effects from that.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? But I don't know. I may be misquoting that. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever thought about writing any, like scripts, or like any, like content? You know what I mean? Like, to be viewed, like video.
I have. I actually did a project with someone once. I don't think it ever made it to production, but I did write a movie script. It was, oh my goodness, I'm even trying. It's been so long ago, but
Mm,
yeah, it was basically a town was full of dangerous predators, and these people were trying to get to the other side. This girl wanted to leave. She lived in a gated community with her father, but he was abusive, and so she and her boyfriend and her friends took off to trying to find a safer place. And of course they ran into a lot of monsters, a lot of bad people. But
mm.
yeah, I don't think it ever made it to production. So yeah, it is definitely different writing a movie script. It
So
feels
I was gonna
very
ask.
dry because he picks up his gun, goes to the other room, blows this guy's head off. It's not nearly as
Right.
descriptive.
It's
So,
great. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean
oh
to
no, I
interrupt you.
was. So, how do you feel about? Because most science fiction novels are usually picked up as movies. Like, how do you feel that whole transaction? Because when people read book, when you read a book, is like you don't have is you leave out a lot of the juicy details that a person wrote in a book. Then when you put it in a movie, it's like you got to cut so much out. How do you feel about that? You think that's like a discredit to the art form of, like, as writers?
Um, yeah, possibly. I mean, it depends. I know there's so many books, and it's like Oh wow, you read the book and you're like, wow, this movie was really disappointing. uh, yeah, yeah. Oh, a writer I think of, I Know What You Did Last Summer. She wrote a suspense novel, and she did not like how, when it came to production, how it was more of a slasher movie. She was just
Right.
completely disgusted. She said that was apparently not her ideal at all. So yeah, things get corrupted, I know, sometimes when it hits the screen.
See, do now this is do authors have a say so when it comes to Hollywood, like how they want their movie to be, how they want their book to be portrayed, and what they want to be about, or is like, oh, we bought the
The
rights
rights.
to
Yeah.
make
Yeah,
your
I was
this a
saying.
movie. After that, you have no more say so.
I think that's how it is. Yeah, I've unfortunately never seen any of my work go to production yet. I hope one day,
Oh yeah.
but yeah, I have a feeling it's once you sign that contract and get your paycheck, they're going to take it and run with it however they choose.
I feel like it could be like the notoriety. Like you think about a Stephen King, I'm pretty sure that he had some type of input in the movies that he wrote.
But he had to leave.
But
Like when he wrote,
he might have sold it to him, but he might have been like, "Yo, you can't change this part. You can't change
I
that
don't
part.
think
You
so.
can't do."
say
I think they just like he
because
said.
I want to read The Shining. I just recently watched The Shining movie again, which was a pretty
Yeah, that
good.
was a good movie.
Is a good movie for it to
They'll
be.
remake it.
Don't
No, they will. Don't worry about
don't
it.
because
Don't
it
worry
was
about
a classic. It's a
I
classic.
think they're already
It
doing
speaks
that.
to it speaks to who we're talking to now. Is an author. He was an author trying to write a book that got possessed because he was
it. Oh.
but
Okay.
but
Yeah.
the book was so much more interesting
Then
than
the actual movie.
because you can only put you got like your book right now. How many hours have you said you put into Eric your first book or years? Can you?
Oh, that it was. I wrote Arid over a period of 3 years. I mean, I was working full time too.
Mhm.
But yeah, I started in the fall of 2015, and then I got a book deal in 2018, and then I went back to Edit Tell, so was still working on it. It's like, yeah, you feel like when you're writing a novel, it's never done. It was probably hundreds of hours writing that.
So now you think about that.
Right.
Now you're condensing hundreds of
Yep.
hours of thought into 2
And
hours
storytelling.
of storytelling that you have with a book. You can sit down, you can read a book in a day. But some
I've
people,
tried. It's
yeah,
hard.
it's hard. But you read a book over time, it's like, oh, you'll read your book and you put it down like, I have to get to my book today.
Right.
But now you're making this movie where people's like,
That has to make
I
money.
it has to make money, but I have to keep your attention for 2 hours.
That's
Mhm.
it.
The
It's
max.
easy.
That's it. 2 hours.
2 hours.
A lot of this storytelling, which makes books awesome, I have to cut out minimum storytelling, huge on action,
Mhm.
and if they're smart, a great ending,
Right.
which is not always the case in movies because some
No.
of the endings
Oh, yeah.
is like, yeah.
Yeah. Some endings are super bad. I got a question for you. Leading off of that, if you could pick any director in the world to direct Arid, who would you pick? And Parched, who would you pick?
Mm. Probably Quentin Tarantino.
Ooh,
Those
that's a
He'll
are
smoke
good
it.
the names.
He'll
hit.
smoke it. He would definitely smoke
Oh
that.
my gosh.
It's funny. I don't know why I was thinking this, and maybe just because I'm not too familiar with directors, like a lot of directors. I don't know why I was thinking M. Night Shyamalan. I don't know why.
I think she went the
No,
right way.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think
Quentin
he
Tarantino would smoke it.
Quint,
100%.
yeah, because M.
Yeah,
Night
he would kill
Shyamalan
it.
is just
He
Yeah,
could even
wait,
probably
wait.
play a
He makes
part in it
weird-
too.
What's his name again?
I don't know that guy's name. I'm not
Who?
even going to try to attempt it. But what I would
They
say,
tried to
what I
say
would say,
M. Night
Quentin,
Shyamalan.
whatever. What I would say with Quentin Tarantino, why he was smoking be quick is the way how he shoots
He's
scenes.
gonna pull that grittiness out
He
of that.
pulls the
Yeah.
grittiness out of
Yeah.
it. He pulls everything he gets from his main characters and even his side characters. It's like you are invested in these people when you're watching these movies.
It's
And his
crazy. I
and his
cannot name
camera
one
He's
movie
angle
I
dope.
did
and his
not
camera
enjoy.
angles and everything like that. I was like, yo, yeah.
That would be so dope. Can I ask you why you would pick Quentin Tarantino? I mean, it's obvious, but why?
Oh, well, and yeah, like everything you just said. And he's not afraid to think outside the box, too. I mean,
Mm,
he employs so many different methods depending on the movies he shoots. Yeah. Yeah, you guys are right. He would smoke it.
Yeah,
right.
I'm sorry.
It's
Bash
all
it.
right. It's all
God.
right.
I like Quentin
Okay.
Tarantino
Yeah,
movies.
M. Night
yeah.
Shyamalan.
M. Night Shyamalan.
So from here, where do you think you're going to go with any, like, as far as your direction with your new books? Like, not to say you're done, working these, but in the future, what do you see yourself writing? Do you see yourself getting into another genre, or just kind of staying where you're at and really just killing this particular genre?
I am definitely open to writing other genres. I'm thinking about the book idea that I told you about, with the guy using the disease. That's more of a thriller suspense. I've
Gotcha.
always been interested in that. I read a lot of thriller suspense, so I could definitely see myself going that way.
That sounds
Nice.
dope.
Yeah. I look. That's my kind of stuff. I'm really
For
on
real.
some conspiracies
Yep.
theory type
I'm a
crazy.
horror. I like horror movies. They don't really get into horror. I'm big into
No, I don't
like
like to be
watching
scared.
horrors.
I
But
do too. I like
yeah.
horror movies. I don't like gore. I don't like see
Yeah,
people.
not particularly. I mean, unless it has to do with. I mean,
Al Gore?
it could be Al Gore. I guess it depends because Saw wasn't really that bad to me. It was kind of gory, but
Would that be considered a thriller or a horror?
I mean,
Because I
I,
think that's more
I
of a
think it's a
thriller,
little
right?
both. It's in both categories.
Okay.
I think they should have quit after like the second or third movie.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
100%.
yeah.
Absolutely. Let me ask you a question. This is a weird one-off question, though. What do you think about The Walking Dead?
Oh, I like The Walking Dead. I used to watch it. I haven't watched it for a couple years, but yeah,
Probably since
I
Carl
was
died.
since who died?
Since Carl died, probably.
Bro, she
So
never made it up to
she
that
probably
point.
didn't get that
Dang,
far.
you ain't-
Up to that point,
oh,
I
damn.
definitely
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
You said a couple years. That was a long time ago.
I'm sorry. What were you saying?
I was devastated when Herschel died. Um,
Wow.
yeah, I don't think I've watched it since I don't know, maybe 15 or 16, but yeah, I used to watch it all the time.
Yeah, they were on for a long time too. Now
Yeah.
I think about it, they like 13 years in or something like that.
A lot.
12
Yeah, they're
years
still
in.
going.
That's
And
great.
it used to be a comic book. I didn't
Yeah,
know that for
yeah.
years. That was a comic book.
Yeah, apparently the comics were like really gory. I didn't read
Yeah.
them. From what I heard, it was brutal.
See, that's the thing about written work and theatrical work.
Right.
Written work, you can go into the details. It lets your mind, because as an author, you have to put us there. You have to write so descriptive to put us there so we can actually visualize, visualize what's going down.
Right.
Whereas as a movie, it's like,
I'm there.
you see it happening. Your visuals is right there.
Right.
Your brain is picture it. That's why books are always, most part, always outdo movies or shows, is because it's like I can write so much more.
Yeah.
I can put
Freedom.
I have the freedom to do whatever I want, where you guys are limited. Even if you was to make this a TV show that can run for 20 years off of one book, you're still limited.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you never fully know your character's mindsets. You see an actor doing their best to portray it, but you never fully know. I think that's the biggest power of the written word.
Yeah.
That's absolutely right. Now that you said something, and it made me want to ask another question. Who would star in Eric? Who would be your star?
Oh, that is a good question. And Norman Reedus wouldn't be a bad star.
Hey,
All right.
I like that.
All right. See?
He knows post-apocalyptic. He can do
Yep.
that quite well.
He's a hunter for sure.
Yeah.
He's definitely a badass.
There you go.
Yeah, because listen, the way you're describing your book, you will read it and you will want, if you're ready, like, I hope they make a movie.
Make a movie. Right, exactly. That's what you're going to read and say, like, oh, I wonder what they would do if they do a movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because we was talking to one of our we had one lady on here that was a
What's her name?
author. I forgot a guest we had on here. when she was doing a Netflix adaptation of her
Oh,
story.
That was
Gosh.
Dr. Dawn Minch.
But Dr. Dawn Minch, yeah, she was doing a Netflix because Netflix right now is giving out deals because I think they opened Pandora's box. You know, before you had to go through Hollywood and certain, it's like Netflix is like, look, if you have a good script and we'll put a little bit of money behind your budget. You know, get what you can get up and do it because Netflix series is coming up left and right and they're good.
Yeah, they're good. Yeah.
So would you ever, if Netflix was to ever get a hold of your book and said, hey, would you be open to doing something like that?
Oh, absolutely. Especially a lot of the movies. I mean, you're right. Netflix has a lot of good series, but some of their movies are just major disappointments. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
it would be such a better movie than this.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I think your book would better serve to be a series
Right.
than
Yep.
because you
I
would
would
be
like to see
able
that.
you'd be able to get better into the mindset of your characters than putting it in that short 2 hours. You'd be able to tell backstories and you'll be so much more in control of it doing it through Netflix than going through, I guess.
I don't think we know that
And
information.
we don't know
I'm about
that
to say.
information, but I've
We
seen
don't.
people Netflix work and it's like you can tell somebody you can tell the difference if you love doing this work or you're just trying to get a movie out. I understand,
Right.
you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
You see certain guys who start off hungry and they start off hungry and they have good movies at the beginning.
Right.
And then when they come into their success, it's like, that was kind of disappointing. That was disappointing. Your
M. Night
book,
Shyamalan.
your favorite guy, Michael Bay.
Oh no, I can't stand Michael Bay's movies. So.
That's his
I can't
favorite.
stand him.
That's his favorite guy in the world, Michael
No,
Bay.
I can't stand his
But
movies.
it's
It started off fire and then it just
No, you watch
dwindled.
one, you watch them all. It's the same.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he used the same imagery in two different movies. I was like, wait, that was in the other movie. Like it was some cutaway scene, and I was like, that it looks exactly. Anyway, off of Michael Bay. Okay.
Well, I'll say, here comes the rabbit hole.
Yeah, we're not going to go into that. Okay, so we got where you want to go in the future. All right, so you got
well, you just tossed to me like that.
Yeah.
So
you the one smoking it with the
with the questions.
no, with your facts.
Yeah,
I'm not
right.
facts. I'm just
Random
saying
facts.
because
You
this
know they
is
created facts back
this
in
is
14.
this is
Fact
very
checker.
your book. How you explain is very interesting. I'm like really.
Thank you.
I nerd out on stuff like I can nerd out on stuff like this for hours because I watch. I do. I'll sit here. I'll go upstairs and literally watch nature, what's going on in the world, stuff like that. Because people, you have to know these things, man. You don't know what like this information she just gave you right now. That is critical information. Even though if you read the book, if you read her book and you like, oh, this can never happen.
Right, but
That's the whole
I
part of
believe
it being fiction, though. In
Well-
your mind, you're like, "What? How could that happen?" And then you're like, "Wait a minute."
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's based on, and that's why I like how you said your book is fictional, but based on actual things that's going
That's
going on, or that can possibly be in the works right now.
right.
Yeah. So is that now you say you're gonna write future work? Would that be the direction for most of your future work? Is like I have to, I'm pulling real stuff that can actually happen, and hopefully,
Meaning, is that going to be her writing style from here on out?
yeah, which is a dope writing style.
Yeah.
Quite possibly. I mean, that is like my biggest source of inspiration, just looking at the world around me and seeing how messed up things are and what direction it could go in.
You want to write a love story?
Oh,
Romance? I'm serious.
I don't know. I'm not a big fan of I'm not a sappy person, so I don't think I can see myself writing.
what about a love story similar to you?
Well,
Because it's a love story, but he's a murderer.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. I don't know where
He
he's
is
at.
a murderer.
in my
But-
personal life.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be cool though. You can imagine a book like you're married, you find out he's a killer, and you're like, but he's in love with you, but you're trying to hide his secret, and you know what's going down, but you're just like you're a part of it, but not really a part of it.
That's
like,
kind of dope.
Like Dexter.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when his sister found out.
Like Dexter. And his girlfriend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
His wife.
Would you ever see yourself writing something like that? That was dope.
That's a suspense. That's more of a suspense, though.
Yeah,
Either
possibly
way.
Yeah.
pull that
So,
out.
yeah, see.
Yeah, I kind of like that one. so for I'm sorry.
You heard it here first.
I'm sorry, you were saying something?
I said it's not a bad idea.
It really isn't, right? Yeah, that's all right. We give some good ideas. So if you can, like, for our listeners, if you could tell them anything, if you could leave them with any words, like what would you like to tell them? Like, even about your work or anything. What words would you leave our listeners with?
I would definitely like to tell them check out aridbook.com, ARID. And yeah, as I mentioned before, you sign up for my newsletter and you will get my first novella free when the chips are down, the one that was the finalist in the contest. I give away short stories sometimes. Sometimes I still write poetry every now and then. I share my poetry. I give stuff away. And Parched, I am planning on releasing that in the spring. It's in the professional editing process now, or soon to be. And I am also planning on coming out with an audiobook version of Arid. So those of you prefer audiobooks or, have a visual impairment, stay tuned. Definitely got a lot planned for that.
If you do the audiobook, like I've been saying to all the authors, read your own work. I love it.
Wait, do you?
I tell them all the time.
Okay.
I love when they read your own work. I hate they get these guys in there. They be so bland because it's not their work and they don't have the same passion. Yeah, yeah.
Yo, with her accent, yeah. Are you considering reading your own for the audiobooks?
I actually have already. I have
Yes.
recorded it. Yeah, it's just in. My best friend is actually helping me edit it right now. But yeah, I'd thought about getting a narrator, and I just went and did it myself. Especially because I had some medical bills. I was like, oh, never mind.
Nah,
Gotcha.
nah. Do it. Listen, I listen to my
more
audiobooks
appreciated.
because I drive, so I have to listen to audiobooks. I love it when they read their own book. I listen to Teddy Atlas book, and Teddy Atlas read his own book. So awesome.
Wow.
Well, I'm glad to hear that
I-
because I heard people say, "Oh, don't do it yourself." And yeah, I mean, I don't know. Some narrators, yeah, some of them are really good. Some are they're very bland. They sound like they're reading a stock report sometimes.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's like the guy went
It's a turn
down
off.
to the lake. I'm like,
it could be a turn off. Yeah.
News anchor.
Right. It could be a turn off. But okay. So you want to do me a favor and just tell everybody where they can find you online,
All your social
all
media,
your social
presence, and you
medias,
can,
and
give out where they
yeah.
can find your books and all of your work
Well,
again.
Yeah, we're gonna do it all in the line.
Yes, I'm on about every platform. I am on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. My handle on Instagram is Joyce Writer. I am on Twitter, TikTok.
Hey.
Yeah, search for Joyce Writer. And yeah, in addition to the aridbook.com website, I also have a website called anjoycewriter.com. And my book, Arid, is available on Amazon right now, just digital and print, but soon to be audio.
I will be looking for the audio.
Yeah, audio.
Because like I said, I drive and I'm mostly driving at work, so I will listen to it because I'm interested in. I really like the story.
No, I think the accent's gonna set it off.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Now back to the host.
Oh, don't touch me. All right. No, we really want to thank you for joining us today, especially with the schedule shift. We really appreciate it. We got some good information. But yeah, I think that's it. So I would like to thank everyone for listening. And once again, we were your host.
I'm Cool Kev.
Kevin Durant.
And I'm Andre.
And
thank you very much, Ann.
Like always, peace.
Peace out.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Opinionated Podcast. If you love today's episode, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, 5 stars. We don't want nothing less. If you're an artist, inspired actress, a songwriter, an author, or you're doing something that's interesting and you want to be a guest on our show, please email us at opinionatedpodcastddk@gmail.com. That's opinionatedpodcastddk@gmail.com. Thank you. Have a blessed day.